Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112, and welcome to the first video in a series exploring the aerial operations of the Second Arab-Israeli War, more commonly known as the 1956 Suez Crisis. While the conflict also involved the UK and France, our primary focus will be on Israel and Egypt. The First Arab-Israeli War ended in 1949, but the animosities between Israel and its neighboring countries were far from over. The Israeli Air Force had to be built from scratch with whatever equipment the new state could purchase. Czechoslovakia became its main supplier during the early years, but by 1951 Israel found a new ally, France, which began supplying the Israeli Air Force with more advanced military hardware. Initially, France's military industry was still recovering from the devastation of World War II, so they weren't able to provide Israel with the latest jets. However, they did make a significant contribution in 1951 by delivering 63 de Havilland Mosquito fighter bombers from the surplus stock of the Armée de l'Air. Although this bolstered Israel's military capabilities, the Israeli Air Force still needed jets. To fill this gap, they turned to the United Kingdom. In 1953, Israel received 11 Gloster Meteor F Mark 8s and 4 trainer aircraft. Over the next 2 years, an additional 7 Meteor fighters and 2 trainers were delivered. With this, the Israeli Air Force entered the jet age, but even by 1953, Israel was already looking ahead, eager to acquire more modern, swept-wing fighters. Their first choice, the F-86 Sabre. However, the United States refused to sell the aircraft to Israel and even blocked Canada from making the sale. Other options included the Swedish Saab J-29 Tunen and the French Dassault Mystère II. Despite the fact that the Mystère II was still under development, Israel chose to proceed with the French fighter. But by the summer of 1955, the French had yet to deliver, so they offered Israel 12 Dassault Ouragans, older, straight-winged fighters, as a temporary solution. Israel accepted, even ordering additional Ouragans. They also cancelled their order for the Mystère II in favor of the more advanced Mystère IV, which would be delivered in 1956. This time, the French kept their promise, and by the time the conflict erupted, the Mystère IV was Israel's most advanced fighter. Meanwhile, Egypt was undergoing significant political upheaval. The 1952 revolution toppled the monarchy and brought Abdel Nasser to power as the country's autocratic president. Initially, Egypt's main supplier of weapons was the United Kingdom. In fact, Egypt was the first country in the Middle East to operate jet fighters, receiving 12 Gloster Meteor F Mark IVs in 1949, with another 10 delivered in 1950. The Egyptians were keen to upgrade to the improved Meteor F Mark VIII, but the complicated political fallout from the Suez Canal negotiations delayed the deliveries. In fact, some of the Meteors originally intended for Egypt were diverted to Israel. Nonetheless, Egypt finally received the Meteor Mark VIIIs in 1955. In addition to the Meteor, Egypt also operated the British de Havilland Vampire, having placed an order for 50 FB Mark 52 Vampires in 1950. However, only 20 of these were delivered. Egypt then turned to Italy's Aermacchi, which supplied 58 refurbished Vampires under the guise of delivery to Syria, with the final airframes arriving in September 1955. The year 1955 also marked a dramatic shift in Egypt's military alliances. Faced with Israeli arms purchases and cross-border raids, coupled with British and American reluctance to provide military support, Nasser began negotiations with the Soviet Union. The result was a landmark agreement in September, in which Czechoslovakia was named the formal supplier. The deal included 80 MiG-15 BIS fighters, 45 Ilyushin Il-28 bombers, 20 Il-14 transport aircraft, and 25 Yak-11 trainers. This agreement sent shockwaves throughout the Western world, as it signaled the beginning of Soviet influence in the Middle East. But before we dive into the full-scale conflict of 1956, which saw an invasion of Egypt by Britain, France, and Israel, let's take a look at some of the aerial clashes that took place in the months leading up to the war. By the spring of 1955, tensions between Israel and Egypt were rising. Both countries kept their aircraft on their respective sides of the border, but on July 21, 1955, Israeli airplanes flew over Gaza City. One of the aircraft flew lower than the others and was targeted by Egyptian anti-aircraft fire. It wasn't hit. The first real jet-to-jet combat between Israel and Egypt occurred on August 20, 1955. Two Israeli Meteors from No. 117 Squadron, piloted by Perry and Weiss, were patrolling the Negev region. While on patrol, 4 Egyptian Vampires were detected by ground radar. The two formations met and engaged in a dogfight, each trying to gain a firing position. Perry managed to get on the tail of the lead vampire, but the Egyptian wingman intervened to protect his leader. Israeli wingman Weiss, however, was in the right place at the right time, and he took aim, scoring several hits on the second vampire. The Egyptian plane went into a dive and disappeared into the clouds. Perry, determined to finish the job, chased down the first vampire, which had entered a spin but managed to recover and escape. Perry and Weiss returned to base, but Weiss's kill wasn't confirmed due to a lack of hard evidence. On the Egyptian side, there is no official record of a corresponding loss on August 20th, but there is a mention of a battle between 2 vampires and 2 Israeli meteors on August 29th. In this engagement, 1 vampire was shot down and its pilot killed, though details remain sparse. This may have been the same battle with a mix-up in the dates. On August 30th and 31st, Israeli ground forces launched attacks across the Gaza Strip, causing heavy casualties among Egyptian troops. In retaliation, the Egyptian Air Force sent 4 vampires to attack Kibbutz Karmiya on September 1st. The incoming aircraft were detected by Israeli radar, and 2 meteors were scrambled to intercept them from Hatzor Air Base at 7 a.m. The Israeli pilots, Captains Aharon Yoeli and Yoash Tzidon, were patrolling the Ashkelon area at 5,000 feet when they spotted the Egyptian vampires who had just completed their ground attack. Yoeli dived from the sun and attacked the first vampire, using tracer rounds to correct his aim. The Egyptian plane crashed in a cornfield. Yoeli then turned his attention to the second vampire, which was trying to escape at 1,000 feet. Yoeli closed the gap and scored direct hits to the cockpit, causing the vampire to explode and crash near another kibbutz. Both Egyptian pilots were killed. The battle marked the first officially credited victories for Israeli jet aircraft. The final air combat between Israeli and Egyptian jets, before the outbreak of a full-scale war, occurred on April 12, 1956. 2 Egyptian vampires from No. 31 Squadron were sent on a reconnaissance mission deep into Israeli airspace. As they neared the Sde Boker kibbutz, they were intercepted by 2 newly delivered Israeli Dassault Uragans. One vampire, piloted by Flight Lieutenant Lufti, was damaged in the engagement and was forced to make a belly landing a few kilometers to the south. Lufti was captured and spent nearly a year as a POW. On July 26, 1956, Egyptian President Nasser announced the nationalization of the Suez Canal, which had previously been controlled by an Anglo-French company. This bold move prompted a military intervention against Egypt by Britain, France, and Israel, but that's a story we'll explore in future videos. There's one more thing I'd like to talk about. Trustmaster has given me a commission for every purchase in their webshop to which my creator code is applied. I have decided to give away the commission to you, the viewers. You can't get the discount directly in the webshop, but if you contact me, I will pay you the commission amount to your PayPal account. It's mostly between 3 and 7%. Check the video description for details, whether it's for flight sims or other. Thank you for your time and keep watching Showtime 112.